And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com, brought to you, as always, by our great friends at the Holy Grail. If you're downtown, make sure you're stopping by the Holy Grail and getting yourself taken care of. Get some food, get some cold beverages. Enjoy the atmosphere in downtown Cincinnati at what has been our longest running sponsor, the Holy Grail. Let's get it going. We got a lot to get to. As is always the case, Dave, we have these conversations. What are we going to talk about?
That's right.
And then before you know it, the show pops up, and we've got plenty to talk about. Aaron, can you take this down? There we go. Jeez, trying to talk to Dave.
Yeah, man. People need to see our faces.
I know. Come on. We have plenty to talk about. So I guess now it's just a matter of, like, where do we start? Do we start talking about the football official visit weekend and camp? There's a camp tomorrow, and then official visits start on Friday. We can talk about that. Or we can it's Little Birdie season, as I posted on the board today.
Oh, yes.
Gotta love, everybody loves Little Birdie season, right?
I would think so.
So if you're new, if you don't know what Little Birdie season is, as we get into the summer, workouts start. And June 1st, well, I guess yesterday, May 31st was the official start of summer workouts for the UC basketball program. For some reason, the NCAA has decided that, hold on a second. Why is this causing me problems?
I don't know.
Jeez.
What?
Anyhow, I was trying to post posts that were live on Twitter, and the YouTube is freaking out my setup here. It's buying us time for people to join anyway, but we're not allowed at workouts because of some stupid NCAA rule. But we are able to get some information on open gyms, which is, the guys all get together and run pickup games. And can you still hear me? Is this working?
Loud and clear.
Okay. My desktop is not cooperating right now. They do get a chance to, little birdies tell us things about the happenings. There we go. I'm back. The happenings at Open Gym throughout the summer. And that's Little Birdie season. And Little Birdie season started today with the first Open Gym of the summer for the Bearcats. And we had little birdies flying around in Fifth Third Arena, tracking the action. So we can either start with official visit season, or we can start with Little Birdie season. I'll let you pick.
I have no interest in picking. Crypt Keeper, you're here. You pick.
If you're here, vote in the chat. You want little birdies or you want official visits? Like, what are you
first person that responds? That's what we're doing.
Okay.
Until then, we will be silent.
Yeah.
We'll see how big of a fan base we have. Maybe
we got. There's people in here. They're just not typing in the chat.
A while.
They're not voting. Nobody is voting, Dave. Brian wants birdies.
Okay, there it is.
Birdie season.
Birdies it is.
All right. So everybody, all the new guys, but Daniel Skillings are in town. They all participated in Open Gym tonight. There's a couple guys working through some off-season stuff that weren't there of the returning guys. I do have an interesting story on that, Dave.
Okay.
Jared Hensley. You probably won't remember this because you were only loosely dialed into the basketball season. But in the game against Houston, the last regular season game against Houston, Jared Hensley got on the floor for a loose ball, got up and was shaking his wrist a little bit and shook it off. And from there, really like started to turn it on and played his best basketball of the season. Well, it turns out he broke his wrist doing that and just didn't tell anybody and played through it for like 5 weeks.
Bearcat tough.
Bearcat tough. Well, it was his non-shooting wrist.
Not important.
Not important. He didn't need that one. It's funny because the story I'm going to get to tells you how it kind of might have become a blessing in disguise. He couldn't use his other hand, right? So he had to just shoot one-handed if he was going to get shots up this offseason. And it allowed him to get his hand and wrist better positioned under the basketball. And he's not going to be cleared for another probably 2 weeks for like live action, but he was off to the side shooting. And I think I saw him make like 9 in a row, nothing but net. And the ball was visibly, clearly coming out of his hands a lot better than it looked last year. And it was a significant, like, you could clearly see that his form was different. The rotation was different. The consistency was different. And we'll see what it looks like when things go live, because those changes sometimes take a little bit, like they stick while you're doing shooting drills, but what happens when things are going for real? But if this is something he can translate over into live action, Jared Hensley that can shoot is a very interesting player.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy I've always had high hopes for because he fits the traits mold.
Yeah.
Like
he's 6'8", he's athletic, he's tough.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that you want to see develop because all the other stuff about him physically and just how the game is going is what you want. So, we know he's like, can take the ball to the basket, finish through contact. Like you said, is tough. So if he can if this has helped him work on his jump shooting, then, that's just another little piece there. And,
here's the important thing with him. If he is now somebody that can be a threat from three, you can play him at small forward. Like it's really difficult to play a bunch of guys at small forward that can't shoot. And with the way that the roster is now being built, like you can play guys that can shoot at that position. So now if he gives you a little bit more shooting, now you have that versatility minute-wise to start playing him at either spot, because as we're going to get into, when you start getting like really digging into this roster, Wes is going to have some interesting decisions to make, because they are going to have a lot of the opposite decisions they had to make last year. Last year, guys had to play because somebody had to be on the floor, right? Now you're going to get into a position where there are guys that are going to be sitting out that can play. And how do you get them minutes? How do you keep them happy? How do you balance the roster? It was, according to my little birdie, it was abundantly obvious the upgrade in talent just watching an open gym. You had, for the most part, a team of like returning guys, where the one team from what I've heard was Mike Adams-Woods, David DeJulius, Jeremiah Davenport, Josh Reed, Victor Locken. and they won the first 4 games. And then the other team, there was some rotation on the other team, but for the most part, the other team, from what I heard, was Rob Fennessy, CJ Anthony, Landis Nolly, Kalu Ezekpe, and Sage Tolentino. And out were Hensley was out, Odie was out, and Newman was out. And then, you had a couple guys pop in. And as we talked about, Dan Skillings is still working on graduation. He should be here in 2 weeks. But, you had our favorite, Mamadou Diarra, pop in.
Yeah.
He's back in Cincinnati, living in Cincinnati.
Get some threes from the top of the key up.
No, he passed one up. I was like, what is happening here? Mamadou just passed up a wide open 3 from the top of the key.
Yeah, there was no fans chanting his name.
Right? Well, that was the thing, right? He always hesitated.
Yeah, he was waiting for the crowd.
Ooh. Deion Dixon was hanging around. But yeah, so I can get into those 9 guys from the reports that I got today. So who would you like to hear about first, Dave?
Josh Reed.
He's going to be very good. He didn't look overmatched. Hit a couple threes, handled the ball. Was proficient, getting on the glass, get the rebound, push it up the floor. I did not see. I was kind of disappointed. His go-to move in high school was coming from the left wing, getting to about the free throw line, and he had a spin move that was like clockwork, and he would either score or get fouled like consistently. I didn't see that. He didn't use the spin move today, so I was a little disappointed in that. But for the most part, he held his own. He was, for most of the day, matched up with Ezekpe. And there were some moments where I think as the day went on, Ezekpe realized, like, he's not strong enough to handle me yet. So, like, there was – Ezekpe's kind of backing him down, and he hit him once, and Josh held his ground. And he hit him twice, and Josh held his ground. And he hit him the third time, and he was only capable of taking the bump twice. But I mean, he's what I saw in AAU. He's a scorer. He's skilled. Not a big time athlete. He did get blocked at the rim by Sage on a fast break dunk that had everybody kind of ooh, and it wasn't like it was like a almost a jump ball because Sage just caught him at the top right at the rim. So no, Josh looked good. Looked every bit like a guy that's going to have a great career here.
I saw one on Twitter. Mike had sent out some new guy tweets. I think maybe just from Sage and Josh.
Just Sage and Josh, just the 2 freshmen.
Had him like 6'7", 220.
Yeah. He looks the part. Like he
you're not gonna. You can redefine your body, but like that's probably like a good playing weight for him.
Yeah, I mean, if he's 225, 230 as time goes on and he gets older, but he's right around physically kind of where he needs to be. Like as you said, obviously Mike will do some reshaping, but he looked good. I thought the first. From what I've heard,
you look good. From what I heard,
I'm bad at this. I thought the first couple games he was feeling it out, trying to figure out, what was okay and what wasn't in terms of how aggressive he was being. And then by the middle, like he had it going, and they were looking to him for points, and he held his own. So and he ran with the winning team for most of the day. So that's usually a good sign. Sage, since we've already mentioned him, did you see the picture of him?
I wasn't sure. Like, scrolling through Twitter, at least for me, like I always like see a picture first because it's bigger image, grabs your attention, and then you read. Like at first, I was like, "Who is that?" Like I didn't recognize him at first.
Me too. 100% agree.
I don't know if it was the hair, the way the picture was. Like it was in the kind of a position where he wasn't like you weren't showing off like his full height.
Good, yeah, because he was kind of sat
He's
down,
kind of like crouched or whatever, like hunched a little bit. So, but yeah, I did not recognize him.
That picture right there.
I had because it doesn't say,
right?
And so I was like, who is that?
I know Sage. Like I've had Sage on the radio multiple times. I've encountered Sage and his family at Dine in Hawaiian, the food truck, multiple times. I didn't know who it was at first glance. I told Sage that tonight, or I had the little birdie tell Sage that tonight. I saw this picture and went, and then I enlarged it, and still for a second when I was like, is that really Sage? So what Rayfeld tweeted out today, he's up to 235 pounds. And I think the big difference, Dave, being he doesn't look like a boy anymore.
Right.
He looks like a growing man. And here's what I said, conversation I had with somebody. At one point, the belief was they're going to need to physically get him up to speed. They're probably going to need to redshirt him this year. I don't know that that's the case. Like, you might still redshirt him, depending on what you think, he needs development-wise, but you don't need to. Like, he's going to be able to hold his own. Is he going to be, as good as he's ever going to be? No, absolutely not. But he has you give the kid a lot of credit. Since the end of his high school season, he has put a ton of work in on his body and being ready to get to Cincinnati and play.
Well, I think he, if that's the case and he keeps progressing and we're still, 5 months from the season, like make it hard on him.
Sure.
Make him say, like, we know you can help, but it's better off to redshirt. Or they say, this guy can, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a game, like, he can help. So we're going to play him. And I'm totally down with that. Like, you never know what's going to happen in the future. If you think a guy can help you now, then you put him on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like, that's why you do these things, right? Like,
it's, we talk about it a lot with football in this year, this expected year in the AAC, but like, I'd almost play him because he's not like what bigs is he gonna face that he's gonna just be like so overmatched that playing him 5 or 10 minutes a game, if he if things keep progressing and he is worthy of that, but like I'd rather play him 5 or 10 minutes a game as a true freshman in the AAC than expect a lot more out of him and him not have played at all in the Big 12 next year.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's kind of important, have a chance to get his feet wet and let him figure out what works.
He's going to need to play next year regardless.
Yeah, regardless. Like they're going to need him as in year 2. I don't think there's any question about that. So that has been the biggest revelation so far of the summer, is that he came in looking a lot different than I expected him to look. And that's a credit to him. It's a credit to, I don't know how much, like, I know once they sign their letter of intent, they can communicate with Rayfeld and get workout plans and get put on the right track. And credit to both of them, because, I thought you were going to see a skinny 210, 215 pound, 7-foot kid. When he got to UC and at 235, you can't teach 7'1", right? Or 7 foot half inch. Like that is, and he stepped into a 17-footer today and knocked it down. He moves well. Like I was expecting to think one thing at this point, and I am now.
Well, because there's a long history of the, tall, skinny, developmental big, not just at UC. I mean, just in college basketball in general.
Right.
That you just are conditioned to be like, every aspect of them needs a redshirt year. Outside of the guys that are going to be like lottery picks, like a Jalen Durden. And if he can help, that's great. I mean, I see no reason to not put him out there.
The biggest thing is he wasn't afraid to mix it up. He was physical. He was rebounding. Like I said, he blocked a couple shots. He was cutting really well, had a couple dunks, cutting along the baseline with the ball on the opposite block, strong side block, and cut to the rim, catch the ball, dunk it. Like he showed good hands. Good hands and feet, man. That's the part with bigs that if it's not there, it's probably not ever happening, right?
Even though he's young, how is his like timing and reading plays defensively from the backside? Like, is he
okay? So far, I mean, it's hard to.
Is he a come from a backside to make a block guy, or is he more of like a block heads up with the guy that has the ball?
It's hard to tell in an open gym setting because you're not really like they're not running plays, right?
Right. I just didn't know if like he flashed like just going for shit. Like I know it's open gym and I might foul the guy, but like I'm going to try to block everything, regardless of if it's like my guy specifically or a help side play.
A little bit of it, but he's not like there's super like a Justin Jackson that would like come from the weak side,
right,
and use his athleticism. It's more length, it's more height.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean he's capable of it. I don't think it's gonna. I think you'll see more blocks from him, like on the guy he's guarding.
Okay, yeah.
Than you will seeing him as like a weak side rim protector type. Now, that's not to say he won't have those blocks.
Sure, but it's the rare ones are the ones that like a Kenyon Martin
do both,
that
right?
do both. Usually you're the athletic guy that's good at timing and cleaning stuff up, or you're a good on-ball defender and understand angles and how to
right.
reaction to your guy. You beat him off the floor, stuff like that.
But we'll stick with, I guess, the new guys here for the sake of the first part of this.
Sure. Would you like me to pick another person?
Sure.
Rob Finney.
Started a little slow, being the first open gym that he's run with these guys. Not surprising, but by the middle to the end, he was playing really well. Hit multiple deep threes. Was better getting to the rim like off the bounce than I anticipated. Especially coming off ball screens, reading ball screens, where the defense is going to be. And then the part I had the most fun with was he guarded DeJulius for most of the afternoon or evening. And you got a chance to see Dave's a tough guard, man, because he's so herky-jerky with the ball, and he's got the stops and starts and hesitations and step backs. So you're going to get really challenged when you're guarding Dave. And I thought Rob handled it pretty well. I mean, Dave got a couple shots off, but because of the way he plays, Dave's going to get shots off. But it was a good first look. I thought, when he wasn't on DeJulius, he was on Micah Adams-Woods. It's funny. They're about the same height. They look kind of similar. They both had the same UC t-shirt on. So it was like a mirror almost when those two were on each other. We'll get to Micah. But I thought Rob handled himself well. I mean, it's going to be tough especially for a point guard when you're coming in and working with a bunch of guys you don't know their game, you don't know where they like the ball.
Sure.
You don't know, that stuff's going to be take a little bit of time to learn. But I thought overall, especially by the end, like he was playing really well because the team, the new guys, like I said, they won the games early. The team with the vets won games early. The team with the new guys came on late, and they came on late because Landers Nolly said, "I'm not fucking losing anymore." He was not happy with the fact that the veteran guys had won the first couple games. And this is not to take anything away from anyone else. But that's the most talented dude on this roster. Not that it's a surprise.
Then let's go to him next.
Landers Nolly can get buckets. Like it is so natural watching him shoot and drive and score, pull up floaters, catch and shoot threes. He's got a super quick release. A couple nice ones today where, he caught it and maybe didn't have a great 3-point shot. So he passed it, relocated, got it right back. Boom, open three, knocked it down. Him and Jeremiah. At some point in time, somebody's going to have to separate them in an open gym because they were having fun with it, but it was constant the entire open gym, the two of them going back and forth, which, that's it makes it fun. Gives you a little something extra to pay attention to.
For sure.
So that was good. He's so smooth. Like we knew this coming in, right? This is a kid that offensively is supremely skilled. He was all freshman in the AAC or in the ACC. He was first team All-American Conference his first year at Memphis. Expect a first team All-Conference performer.
Right.
Like that's how good he is. That's how talented he is. And you put him next to DeJulius and Davenport, and all of a sudden you're not watching, paint dry when you're watching offense. Now, They might make you want to pull your hair out with some of their shot selection, but they're talented enough for it to go in, so you don't have as much of a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't really care about the shot selection if a higher percentage of them go in.
Right.
Like, no one complains about bad shots when you're dropping a few more a game and you have, a true scoring threat that just, that they just haven't had. And that, David is one, but we saw, towards the end of last year, I'm not saying it was easy, but teams became a lot more effective at limiting him, and we just saw what that did to everything else.
Well, yeah, teams said, we're going to take away DeJulius. We're going to push Davenport as far out from the three-point line as we can. And what else do you have? And the answer was
nothing.
Not much. And now you're potentially going to have at the three main scoring positions, three guys that are going to be able to put the ball in the basket. There's still unknowns at point guard in terms of, offensive impact. And we're going to have to see what it looks like at center. But ultimately, having three guys that can score consistently better than two.
Yeah. You just, it's so, I don't know. It's like they just didn't have any options.
There was no spacing. There was no
spacing. There were no options. There was no, if plan A doesn't go well, we can just easily shift to plan B.
Right.
Like it was, if plan A didn't go well, we're going to lose by 20.
if plan A doesn't go well, the shot clock is going to be very close to 0 with someone out of position to take a shot.
Right, because you had one guy that could get his own shot.
Pretty much, yeah. Now Jeremiah will take it. He's never met a shot he didn't like.
You're right, but he's not a shot creator in the sense of like in an offense. He'll create a shot when he needs to because the shot clock's winding down or whatever. But like, he's not an individual shot creator that is still somewhat in like the framework of what you're trying to do.
Right. And then Kalua Zekpe, legit 6'8".
Can we get can we get a Collier sponsorship, like some shots when he like makes a dunk or something?
Maybe. He's 6'8", like he's about an inch, a little more than an inch taller than Josh Reed. The thing is, I think he's one of those guys. He looks a little shorter because his shoulders are so broad. Like
I have that same problem.
Yeah, you look shorter because your shoulders are so broad. Yeah, that's it. But he can really pass. He's got, as advertised, he is excellent knocking down mid-range jumpers, long arms, and the kid is strong. He is.
So he's long and he's strong.
And he's down to get the friction on.
Thank you.
I liked what I saw from him today. He's in the mold of what we've known UC big men to be for decades, right? Like 6'8", aggressive, beat you up, bully you, push you around, get to where he wants to go. The passing kind of stood out to me because if you're a threat in the mid range and you can pass, that makes zone defense a lot easier to handle, right? And we've seen for how long this team struggle with zone defense because they didn't really ever have anybody that could occupy the middle, that could knock down the shot or find the short corner or kick it out to an open three. Like they've been deficient in that area for many, many moons. And I think Ezekpe will definitely give them an option there.
With the addition of, we'll go with like the more experienced newcomers. And we maybe have touched on this in the past, but someone's podcast is their first podcast.
Yes.
Like Finney, Nolly, Zekpe, like scale of 1 to 10, like how much have we increased just the overall physicality and toughness quotient of the team?
Significantly. Significantly. I 8, 7, 8, like these three guys have played on some good teams and won a lot, right? Like Old Dominion, not as much as as Memphis and Indiana, but they played in high level games. They understand what it takes to get things done at a high level. So you're inserting some guys that have been there and done that, which is always a good thing for me. And look, that team was not Bearcat tough last year. It just wasn't. And by toughness, I mean the same things we always talk about. What happens at the end of a game? When the chips are down, when the game is on the line, like, do you have guys that can get stops and carry you across the finish line? They didn't have enough of those guys last year. And I think with these three guys coming into the fold, you've definitely increased your ability to do that, to get the team across the finish line in close games and pick up wins.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing that, like, not that I'll always remember about, like, some of mixed teams, but, like, how many times would they win a game by, like, 2 or 3 in what we would call the old rock fights,
Sure.
And you'd go back after the game and you'd be like, the other team didn't score for the last 4 minutes. Or they didn't make a basket. Maybe they made some free throws. They didn't make a field goal for like the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, they were 1 of 9 from the floor.
And we were winning games when we were shooting low 30%.
Right.
And we just, we got to the point in that crunch time where we were just like, okay, we know that we're not going to be able to make any baskets, but if we don't let them score, then they're not going to win.
I think the biggest takeaway from today also, and this is without Skillings being there, without Hensley on the floor, without Newman on the floor, without Aguama on the floor, this team's already longer and more. They look more like a high-level basketball team, right? Like that was one of the things that was terrifying about last year. Is a lot of
you
times
have like some real athletes now.
Yeah. Like you looked out there last year and there's guys that are shorter, not very long wingspan, don't have the ability to cover a lot of ground, don't have the ability to close out or make scorers uncomfortable. And how many guys last year had, career highs or like, season highs in points? And it was pretty consistent. And now you're almost looking at a team like, hey, you can get all these guys on the floor, like especially 3, 4, 5. What are the rotations going to look like? How are things going to pan out to make this team the most successful? It's the exact opposite problem of last year.
Yeah,
we've got to play these guys. Like these are who we've got. This is the roster that we have. These are the guys that have to play. And now it's going to be more of, okay, I got to figure out this guy's only getting 8-9 minutes a game. And maybe I need to figure out a way to get him 14 minutes a game to make us better. So, that's the first report from the little birdies on the 5 new guys that are in place. Returning guys. Jeremiah Davenport hit a bunch of threes. He also, Landers Nolly did some work on him from time to time. Some things don't change.
Like to me, at this point, just focus on offense. Not everybody can be great at both.
Well, but now he can be in a role where you can say
you're clearly better on the offensive end. So do whatever you need to do to try to excel offensively. And, you take what you get defensively. Don't be a total liability. But, it's not going to all of a sudden.
Well, but here's what I would say also. Like, if you've got a Finney on the floor and you've got, either Newman or Landers Nolly playing the 3, and you've got Jeremiah on the floor, like there are pieces around that are going to make him a better defender.
Sure.
Because last year there just wasn't, like, you could just isolate
you're
him.
You're exposed even more when Jaron Cumberland had some sneaky good defensive traits, but no one's going to characterize him as a great defensive player, but he was surrounded by some really solid defensive
players.
players.
Gary and Jake and, nobody's ever going to call Kyle a great defensive player, but Trey, and there were guys around him that could mask some of his deficiencies. You're going to have more of that with JD this year, and he's going to shoot, and he's going to shoot it well. Like, and odds are you're not going to have him take as many, late shot clock wild threes as you saw from a year ago. While he still shot 37% from 3, with taking a lot of really tough looks. You reduce those tough looks by a little bit, and all of a sudden, maybe all of a sudden you've got a 42% Jeremiah Davenport from 3, which can win you a couple extra games over the course of the season.
for sure.
I thought DeJulius was Dave, like what you know. He's settled in now. He knows his role. He's comfortable in what he's doing. I think the interesting part of this becomes like, can you get him comfortable more so at the one at times?
Right.
Because if you can, now, you can get more of these long multi-positional wings on the floor. If you think about if you could go DeJulius, Skillings, Nolly, Davenport, and a big for for extended stretches. And that's 6'6" with length, 6'7" with length, 6'6" with length with Jeremiah.
Right.
And all three, are proficient offensive scorers, and your point guard now can score. Now you got 4 guys on the floor. Remember we talked about 3. Now you got 4. So that part is going to be interesting. We'll get to football recruiting in a little bit. We're talking little birdies and basketball right now. We'll get to the football when we get done. I thought Mike Adams-Woods looked good today. Again, I thought you got to a point last season where you were just asking him to do more than he was capable of doing, because he was the only, once they shut down DeJulius and once they kind of limited Davenport, that puts the pressure on somebody else to have to make the defense pay. And I just don't think he was ready for that role. And I think in a situation where you've got more guys around him that can score, he's a good passer. We know that. He's steady. He's a guy you can count on to be, reliable, but he's maybe just not a guy you can ask to have to take 8, 9, 10, 11 shots a game, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a dude that if he comes in and he's hitting his shot, then he gets some more minutes. If he's not, then that's just kind of with this roster now. You're not forced to play him maybe more minutes than you would ideally like to. I mean,
right.
You got a deeper roster now. Not everybody can play 15 to 25 minutes a game. Like,
right.
It's just not. It doesn't work that way. So, I mean, someone who's been on the team for a while's role is going to get reduced.
It's the nature of improving the roster.
Well, and especially when you're adding like other veteran players.
Right.
If you're just bringing in like 7 freshmen, then it's harder to make that claim. But I think you're going to have different lineups that we haven't, like, does Landers Nolly just become someone that, like, he's 35 minutes a game? Like, we just got to have him on the floor.
Yeah, I don't know that Wes really. I think Wes doesn't want to go that route.
Doesn't want to, but I'm saying, like, 30 to 32. I mean,
right.
That's not out of the question.
I think 28 to 30, somewhere in that range. And to your point, the question becomes, how much different do you look when he's sitting on the bench?
I mean, exactly. I mean, we've seen that more on the defensive end over the years, where it's like, hey, Gary needs a break. Oh, okay, Gary, go back in, because the other team scored 3 times in a row.
Right.
So your break's over. Blame your teammates.
Right.
Stuff like that. Or Jaren would go out and you couldn't score.
Right. The offense would go dead for the 3 minutes that he was on the bench, and that's why he was only on the bench for 3 minutes.
Right. So,
yeah.
There's just, I don't know. It's just like, there's just so many. When you have that type of a guy, it's just, the trickle-down effect is so much greater. What does that do for Dave? I mean, really, though, I think the person that it probably benefits the most is Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Like, how many times will he just be able to just spot up and not have to worry about the stuff he had to worry about last year, have coverage like he had last year? Where now you can truly like space the floor way, way better than you could last season.
Yeah. And that was a massive, massive problem. And, I guess you're going to have to find out, though, you're still going to need somebody to step up that's going to give you offense around the rim.
Oh,
and
sure.
is that going to be potentially Ezekpe? Are we going to see Vic take that jump? I heard he was solid today, but didn't exactly, light up the bottom of the net. So he's going to have to continue to work on that and become, and as we know, like we've talked about this a million times, open gym is a hard setting for big men to really do what they do. Like there's a lot of threes, there's a lot of up and down, a lot of pushing tempo. There's not a lot of like slow down, grind it out, run a set play to get your big man a basket. Like it is what it is. Like that. Yes. That's just the setting. That's the type of basketball.
For sure.
If you've ever played pickup ball, nobody was just like running sets to get pin downs and duck ins for big men to get buckets. So, but I mean, him and Sage, I thought had a thanks, Lamb, appreciate you. Him and Sage had a good back and forth today, and it was good to see the two of them. Like that's the future of the interior for the Cincinnati Bearcats, right?
Oh yeah.
You got a lot of chips in those baskets. So let's see how they develop and see how the summer works out for both of them. And you hope one, if not one, both turn into a guy that can get you some points from 10 feet and in. I think that covers most of everything.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure someone will tell us if it doesn't, but.
Well, Micah, Dave, Jeremiah, Josh Reed, Vic, yeah. So I think we hit pretty much all the guys that played today, and then got the good news that it looks like Hensley is going to be more of a factor as well. So that's the first 48 minutes of the first Little Birdie session of the summer, and that is one of those things, Dave, that people love here in the summer on Bearcat Journal.
Who doesn't love a good little birdie?
Well, the truth of the matter is, where else are you going to get it? Nobody else is allowed in. Nobody else can get into the gym.
That is true.
Yeah. So that segment brought to you by our good friends at Urban Artifact. Are you curious to explore what lies beyond standard craft beer? Take a trip to Urban Artifact. They don't make beer. They make fruit tarts. Come see what the world of real fruit has to offer. Swing by Urban Artifacts Northside Tap Room. Mention Bearcat Journal. Get $2 off a flight of 4 tasters. So there is your Urban Artifact timestamp for the little basketball birdies, as Aaron labeled it. Well done, birdies. Those birdies are very thorough, Brian. They
must have a good seat.
Center court, right by the scorers.
Hopefully there wasn't any bird shit.
No, these birds, no, they're potty trained. They don't poop inside. They poop outside. I did get to walk by Nippert and check her out a little bit as I was walking in. Good news there. I'll be back there tomorrow.
Yes, I'm hoping to join. Still not sure, but hopeful.
That'll be an exciting one. Mick will have some information up on the board tomorrow at or around lunch, maybe a little bit before, about the camp tomorrow night. Some little intrigue in 2023 at the camp tomorrow, and then a lot of focus on locally in 2024 at the camp as well. So we'll have a lot on that. I'm sure we'll have a late night nightcap with Aaron and I going over that stuff as well, as far as whatever happens at the camp tomorrow. And then big official visit weekend, the first one. And if you know somebody's supposed to be visiting and you don't see them listed for this weekend, you don't have to ask us about it. There's another official visit weekend coming next weekend. You don't have to ask us every name that's not on this list. What about this guy? What about that guy? What about this guy?
They could come the weekend after.
Yeah. I think there are going to be a couple stragglers that third weekend. I don't expect it to be like a group like this one, but I do think there's a couple guys that have scheduling conflicts or things of that nature that might keep them from coming to either of these two that'll find themselves in that third week. So just stay patient. I know some of you guys have the patience of my 11-year-old daughter and her friends, but when it comes to recruiting information, but just let it play out. And then once it plays out, if somebody we thought was going to show up just doesn't show up, then we'll discuss it. But you want to give them a brief overview. If you want the full list, go to bearcatjournal.com. Like that's how we make money. That's how this stuff works. If you want to hear all the names, see all the names, go to bearcatjournal.com. But give me some names when looking at the list, Dave, that you're intrigued or looking really forward to seeing how the official visit goes.
I'm most intrigued by Luke Evans.
Okay, tell me more.
Cornerback, Chaminade Madonna Prep, Hollywood, Florida. 6'1", 165. High 3-star. Top 50 cornerback in the country. 247 has him, granted, who knows how accurate this is, has him with warm interest with the Bearcats, the Penn State Nittany Lions, and the Georgia Bulldogs. Offers from those three schools, plus Arkansas, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi State, North Carolina, Texas A&M, and others. But the reason that I am maybe most intrigued by him, down here in the notes, connections. Percy Evans, father, 4-year starter on the defensive line at the University of Cincinnati.
Correct.
From 1995 to 1998. Team captain as a senior.
Do you remember his dad?
I don't.
Okay.
I do not. I was that was like 8th grade to middle of high school. Was not really following Bearcat football a ton then.
Okay.
But this one feels like a Kerry Combs special.
Well, you know what else jumps out to me on that one? The Penn State thing, because Penn State, who else are we also hearing Penn State mentioned a lot with?
Yes.
Amari Snowden. So this is one that could have an impact on a couple different levels.
Yeah.
But I do think, given the legacy nature and Kerry Combs, like this is one you definitely would probably want to keep an eye on.
He let's see here. What I'm just trying to peruse through an article real quick. So he has the visit to UC this weekend and a Penn State visit next weekend.
Okay.
And this was as of May 3rd, so this is almost a month old. But then he's in the process of finalizing the date to take an official to Georgia. He's been at 3 different schools. He started at Boca Raton St. Paul II as a sophomore, then transferred to Stoneman Douglas as a junior, and then he enrolled at Chaminade Prep a few months ago. And they won a state title last year, I think. So,
Okay. Anything else? I know in terms of like heavy, like Cincinnati wants to get this done. Kamari Burns has to be almost at the top of that list.
yeah, I mean, he is the length, speed defensive lineman that they, kind of don't have right now that fits that mold of trying to replace the type of player that Maije was.
I guess we'll see on Mario Eugenio.
Sure, but you just don't know. So I can't say what he's going to be or what he's not going to be.
Right, we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah. So, they've been on him for a long time. He was at spring practices. It sounds like he's very high on them. Penn State is another one involved with him. Kentucky's involved with him. Tennessee's involved. West Virginia. Those seem to kind of be the top group. But, yeah, I would say, I don't know. He has officials set for Kentucky and Penn State, so I'm not sure how close he is on a decision. I think maybe he was a little bit closer in the March time frame than he maybe is now.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But he's definitely one that they have prioritized, I would say, more than anybody else that's recruiting him. So we'll see if that pays off.
Anybody? Here's I just am scrolling through. Looks like Jermaine Matthews got a Ohio State offer today.
And Oklahoma. Just now, like within the last 5 minutes.
Welcome to a fight for Jermaine Matthews.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he has a July 4th commitment date.
Yeah. It was interesting that at Ohio State camp, he ran like a 4.62 and then like a 4.35. Like, did he crawl the first 10 yards?
Well, maybe it was a slip start.
Right. That's a pretty big gap.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, a lot of these guys not that we've talked about them, but have kind of been on the radar. So I'm trying to like pick out some of the ones that might be a little bit new. Aiden Green from Powell, Tennessee. I mean, Powell's one of the best programs in them and Alcoa are just outstanding programs in Knoxville. Dude, has you seen his top 5? Took a visit to Clemson this week. Coming to UC, this weekend is that, wide receiver talent that, top 40-ish, top 50 receiver in the country. Like that's a big one right there.
Yeah.
You look at like his offers, UC, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Tech, Virginia. No one that's like, he doesn't have any of like the truly top tier offers yet.
Right.
So, I think UC's got just as good of a shot as anybody that's offered him.
Sure. Anybody else?
They got 3 offensive linemen visiting.
Yes.
All listed as tackles, all 6'5" or bigger. We know what that's all about. Khalil Ali from New Jersey. He's actually outside of Daymion McCullough. I think he's the highest rated player visiting.
Yeah.
That's an old school Big East battle right there. That's a BC, Cincinnati, Louisville, Pittsburgh, West Virginia.
I'm surprised there's no Rutgers in there.
Well, because Rutgers stinks. But I mean,
Fair.
they've, he's got a, granted, we all know how offers go. You got an offer
Yes.
today. Is it committable? Is it an offer? Is it still standing tomorrow if you want to commit? Who knows? But he has reported offers from Florida State, Miami, Michigan State, Nebraska, Ole Miss, Penn State, Wisconsin. So, I mean, I think this is one that's like, we've had all these safeties drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to be drafted? We could probably help you do that.
Right.
It's just a matter of, BC's going to have, BC, Pitt, West Virginia, they're always going to have, a lot more time spent in Jersey, but we know that Hitch definitely has connections in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So,
for sure.
So we'll see how that goes. I guess should we speak on Daymion McCullough?
Sure. We had a question about it. We can address. Yes, he is planning to commit on the 4th. And yes, he is visiting UC this weekend. Those two things are both true.
You don't see a ton of commits to school not on official visit to.
It would be, shall we say,
awkward. Out of the ordinary.
A bit awkward if he were to commit somewhere else halfway through his official visit to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I feel that would be awkward. Just reading the tea leaves here, right?
Yes.
That's not something you see happen very often. So, I mean, would be one of the highest rated recruits in program history. 177 in the composite, 161 in 24/7 nationally. Number 2 player in the state of Indiana. This is a Kerry Combs special.
Yeah,
for sure. This would be the Kerry Combs impact if Cincinnati is able to pull this one off. He has a crystal ball from Steve Wiltfong. Steve Wiltfong's crystal balls are strong.
He's got strong crystal balls.
He does. Very girthy, strong crystal balls.
He was recently, a couple days ago, offered by Minnesota.
Yeah. I think it might be too little too late.
I think it might.
On that front. So yeah, I would say it is fair to be excited about where Cincinnati stands with Daymion McCullough, right? His dad is now the running back coach at Notre Dame. He was the running back coach at Indiana, an associate head coach. That's what kind of prompted the decommitment.
Did his brother enter the transfer portal?
I don't believe so. Not that I've seen.
I thought I saw that he did, but maybe that was.
I think that would have raised more of a stink on our board.
That's true. That's true. I could just be hallucinating.
And if his brother entered the transfer portal, I think there's a pretty good chance that the destination would probably be where his dad is coaching now. For people wondering why Notre Dame's not involved here, if you look, Notre Dame has the number 1 class in the country, and they have 2 very highly rated safeties as part of that class, and potentially, I think, a third that they're targeting as well. So
he does have some position versatility. I was reading on his page. Has played some corner. Alan True kind of wrote that up. Talked about growing into safety nickel. So could offer some different position flexibility.
And it's 6'2", like if he filled out, not outside the realm of possibility, sniper.
Sure.
That's kind of, That's why they love these 6'2", 6'3" defensive backs that are already up in that 190, 200, 205-pound range, is because they can potentially be corners, they can be safeties, they can be nickels, they can grow into sniper. Like, you just have a lot of options with how it progresses.
Yeah.
So, that's the Daymion McCullough story. And for all the other names that are going to be here this weekend, Mick has them up on the message board at 24/7 Sports, at Bearcat Journal. You can find that pinned to the top of the football page. Brian, yes, I mean, Steve's crystal balls are like 98% accurate. That's why they're strong. They're 98%. That's a heavy crystal ball.
Yes. But I think it would be worthwhile to be on the lookout for the camp article tomorrow. I think there could be a couple names on there that might pique some interest, who could, depending on how they perform, possibly be added to this list.
Yes. Is Mick still doing UC and Purdue? Yes. Part of Mick's full-time compensation package comes from my checking account. So he will still be covering UC as long as that is the case.
Yes.
To get him to full-time, continuing to work for Bearcat Journal was part of that compensation package. So he is still here and gracing us with his presence until that changes.
That's right.
That's how that works, right? If he doesn't want the money from me, he can stop working for me. But I don't think that's how working full time goes, right? Like, you want to make as much money as you can. So yes, he is still working for me, and that is something that happens throughout the industry a lot more than people realize. Guys helping out in places that aren't their, full-time focus. His full-time focus is now Purdue, but he is still here at Bearcat Journal. What else you got, Dave? You got anything else you want to talk about tonight?
Let's
timestamp that. Let's timestamp that. The recruiting information. Urban Artifact is the largest sour-only brewery in the United States. They pack over 700,000 pounds of real fruit into their lineup of fruit tarts every year. Swing by Urban Artifact's Northside Tap Room, mention Bearcat Journal, get $2 off a flight of 4 tasters. There's your timestamp.
Let's see, a couple things. I just saw that Lester Quinones from Memphis is going to be staying in the NBA draft.
That's a big hit for them. I like his game, despite the super awkward and annoying short shorts. But that's a pretty big blow for Penny, I think.
I am seeing that someone who has visited the Bearcats. I'm sorry.
What about the news on Memphis looking into getting a new gym floor?
Because the one they have is terrible.
It's
they
terrible.
Years ago.
Yeah, it's awful.
I think they should just let 3-6 design it.
Huge news, though, if they finally get rid of that awful floor.
Sure.
Well,
for them.
Central Florida still has it, don't they? Or theirs just looks like blacktop now. Remember, didn't they have like the Disney for a little while, for a year?
Yeah, their floor has been bad. The worst in the country is still Oregon with like the trees.
I'm actually a fan.
Really?
Yeah. It's so like distracting that it actually just kind of flows.
Okay, I think it's very ugly.
The one that I don't like is Colorado State. Like the
that one's gross
Ram
too,
horn that's like the whole like the size of the entire court.
Yeah, that one's not good either. I'll give you that.
But then I've also just saw that an offensive lineman who has visited the Bearcats a couple times out of Detroit, Amir Herring, is taking an official visit to Nebraska, and it seems like maybe a Nebraska-Michigan battle for him. I know his name had been bandied about back, it's been a minute, but, 4-star, but an interior guy. So I think that's kind of where we've got a lot of those. It's the tackle position is what they need to be addressing. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because he is highly rated and he's very well thought of.
And he'd shown significant interest in UC, so it seems like maybe UC has decided to kind of move on, and so he has as well.
I don't necessarily know that it's moving on as much as it's just they're not looking for interior linemen.
Right, but that's what I mean. Like they've moved on to other targets. Not that they don't think he's good enough, but they like what they have on the interior, on the roster, and in commits, and the spots are better used elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean there's just not a lot of movement on that 85 for the Bearcats. That's
the thing is to me it's a good thing. It means you're not cycling through guys. Guys are happy to be here, but then it also it means that guys are so happy to be here that maybe there's some juniors or redshirt sophomores that aren't on the 2 deep that under other circumstances might be looking to go find a place to play where things are so good here. They're like, nah, I'm cool with it. Like, I'm enjoying college and, I'm on a great team and it's a lot of fun and I don't really care if I don't play.
Yeah. What's that number about the kids that are going pro in something other than sports?
Yeah.
They're like, I'm cool. We're good. I like it here.
Yeah. I'm sure the coaches are big fans of that.
Well, and you also add in the COVID years. Like there's 5, 6 COVID year guys that are still on this roster that all of a sudden that number would look a lot different. And I'm sure next year there's going to be a couple guys that are using that COVID year, and the year after there'll still be a couple guys that are using that COVID year. Like it changed everything for this window for basically everybody that was on the roster in 2020 all the way through until the last one leaves college football.
Yeah.
We've seen guys in the 6th, 7th years, like around the country.
Yeah.
I sat on a
whose job is it to like figure out who the last person is that was on
right,
like on a team in 2020 that can still use a COVID year.
True. I sat on a golf cart with Marcus Brown and Tommy Tuberville. Like that's how long ago Marcus Brown came to UC and just finally left.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the kid from Utah, Britton Covey.
Yeah.
He was there 7 years. And he had
that's what I'm saying.
I think he was there 6 years, and he actually had another year. He could have came back.
And he just was like,
and he was like, he had like a funny Twitter like declaration to going to the NFL draft, like kind of about that, like 7th year and all that. But yeah, it's
wild. It changes the map.
Yeah, I mean, you look at UC's roster, like under normal circumstances, Malik and Jabari wouldn't still be on the team.
Hicks would be gone, wouldn't he?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't. That one I'm not as sure on.
I think he but I don't think he redshirted. I think he played special teams his freshman year.
Yeah. There's been a couple, to change subject. I've noticed a couple tweets today from the Big 12 meetings where This one specifically, West Virginia AD Shane Lyons told a small group of reporters that the newcomers are confident they'll be joining in 2023, quote, close to the finish line. I mean, that's kind of the same stuff
Right.
that's been talked about, but it hits a little bit different when people inside the conference.
Yeah, they're finalizing the number. Like that, we know that's what it is.
People inside the conference are good enough to speak it publicly, then it must be pretty close.
Yeah, they are finalizing this is the buyout. And once they settle on a number that both sides can agree upon.
What do we think the number is going to be?
20.
That's kind of what I think. Like, I know some people have referred to like the UConn 17. Me personally, if I was the conference, I'd be like, yeah, you're paying more than them. They didn't do anything for us.
Right. We were okay with them leaving.
Like I'm not sure I go that far, but like we weren't having to replace them with UAB and Old Dominion, and I don't even know who else is coming into this conference because I frankly don't care at all. But like them leaving did not blow up the football part of the conference.
Right. So yeah, I think we all just are under the assumption that 23 is happening. It's just a matter of what's the final digits.
Yeah, and then I think what was the other one? For our not Twitter people, there was another one I saw earlier. Takeaway from Big 12 meetings. League has firmer sense of incoming members' timeline than outgoing. BYU, UCF, Houston, Cincy, closer to determining their finish line than Sooners and Texas. Anticipation for OU, UT, SEC exit still remains 2025.
Right.
Let's see. What is Minhee? I'm trying to be determined later this summer. Big 12 scheduling models moving forward. My inclination, no football divisions. This is from Garen Emig of the Tulsa World. No football divisions and Bob Bowlesby's successor. So.
Gotcha.
Again, all things we've talked about, but they have a meeting. People are going to get quotes. Like I said, if they're willing to talk about, that stuff publicly, then things must be closer. They just would have no commented.
Right. They just said, we'll talk about that later.
When it happens.
Yeah, we'll get to that down the road. So, all right.
I mean, we're under 100 days to Arkansas. It's exciting.
Arlington Page.
Okay.
The high 4-star big man that plays AAU and high school basketball with Isaiah Collier. Official visit ended earlier today. From all accounts, it went well. Two interesting things. Apparently he just turned 17. So this is a kid. Yeah. This is a 6'9", 210-pound, whatever, super athletic big man that just turned 17. And apparently there's like he's not maybe done growing. They think he's still in the growth process and could end up pushing 7 feet. So if that's the case,
yeah.
And it's interesting. I talked to a couple people today. I was curious about this. He played this past weekend because Isaiah Collier was at USA basketball tryouts. So he played without Isaiah Collier this weekend, and that doesn't happen often. because they play high school and AAU basketball together. And I think there was a realization of how much more fun basketball is when Isaiah Collier is on your team.
Yeah.
And that's the sign of a smart young man, right? You play with
really good players who are good passers are usually, someone that big guys like to play with.
right. You play with a guy that throws you open for dunks more often than not. You'll like you'll like playing with him more often than not. Ed, this is a Cincinnati podcast. Shut up.
I would have just said K.
Okay. I know, but it's Ed. If it was anybody but Ed, I would have just said okay. But it's Ed, so
read the room.
Read the room, Ed. Read the room. And then
I have very few words blocked on Twitter. I think you can guess what a couple of them are.
And on Collier, I know there's some people in the industry that think it's UC and UCLA. From the sense I get, it's much more USC than it is UCLA. Right?
I wonder how you get that sense.
Actually, it's not the way. I think UCLA thinks they're in a really good spot, but from what I'm hearing, I think USC is a serious threat here. We'll see if I'm right.
Yeah,
I can't guarantee it. If I had to guess a top 3 right now for Collier, I'd guess Cincinnati, USC, Alabama.
Yeah. I think
that's what I would guess.
I think Alabama's going to be there till the end.
I think so too, but we'll see. We'll see. I think if I had to guess right now, Alabama's running third. That's just from reading the tea leaves and conversing with people around the country. And again, what?
Is there any sense on timing for him? Or is he going to take this thing all the way through, like taking senior officials?
He's going to take senior officials, to my understanding, which would be – so I did get some clarification on the whole like junior, senior official thing. So junior officials run through the end of June. And then July is closed. No visits in July. August 1st is the start of senior officials. So it sounds like he'll do – the football tour of official visits, and probably make a decision before the early signing period, which is in November. So this one's on a pretty standard timeline for, high-level kids that don't take it all the way into the spring, where, you cut your list down, you get it down to a final 3 or a final 5, and you take your senior year officials, you go to football games, you go to tailgates, you have a blast.
Right.
You generally are going to big games. You're going to, electric atmospheres, and then, you'll make your decision before you really get into your senior year, and you'll sign in November. That's the sense I get where it's going. That's not, he hasn't said that. That's not official.
Here's a wild thing I just thought of.
Okay.
Even with Lincoln Riley, the best atmosphere he's going to go to for a football game if he doesn't go to Bama is UC.
Yeah. Yep. I would think that Kennesaw State game could be important for basketball recruiting.
Yeah.
Season opener, everybody's going to be, or home opener. Everybody's going to be fired up to bring the program back home and celebrate, seeing them for the first time at Nippert since the Cotton Bowl. Like, I think that's going to be, even though it's a FCS opponent, I think that's going to be a pretty wild atmosphere.
Yeah.
So would Collier and Page commit roughly at the same time? No clue. I don't know if there's a specific connection that they've decided they're going to commit similarly. I have not heard that yet, so I can't speak on that. So we'll see. Like that's what the coming weeks and months are going to tell us. So don't know that. Haven't heard that. I guess is what I would
So
say.
I didn't know this, but apparently midnight is the deadline to enter the NBA draft.
Yes.
So I don't think this is a big surprise, but Marcus Sasser announced he's coming back to Houston.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
I'm not shocked by that, but I thought there was at least a chance. Look, man, what do they love in the NBA? Shooting.
Yep. I just wonder how much missing most of the season.
Yeah, I'm sure it played a
dictated
factor.
that. It kind of seems like Drew, Timmy, and Trevor Keels are kind of like the two last big ones that people are waiting to announce.
Thoughts on Trey Green announcing Cincinnati visit 9/23-25 and how that plays with Collier? They're all in on Collier. Until they get a decision, they're all in on Collier. So it doesn't affect anything there other than you have to be prepared that he doesn't pick you.
Right. And if he takes it a long time, you have to be prepared that your other options are going to say, well, I'm ready to decide. And you're obviously not going to just make a decision until you hear from him. So right. I'm going somewhere else.
They're not taking another point guard until they either A, land Isaiah Collier, or B, are told they're no longer in the running for Isaiah Collier. They're too all in on this. They have shot their shot, right? And they are at the top of this recruitment. Isn't this what everybody wanted? Right? Fight to the finish, never give in. Is that how it goes, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, do you want to be in on the number 10 player in the country or not?
The number 1 point guard in the country.
Then there's I'm not gonna say consequences, but that's the parameters to do it.
Right.
You don't recruit someone like they've recruited him and then get antsy because he's not deciding when you hope he's deciding. You understand that the whole time.
Right.
And you're willing to take the risk that, okay, if he doesn't pick us, we might lose out on a Trey Green or a Jizzle James because they're ready to announce and they might want to come to UC. But we've been in this boat for Isaiah Collier for this long. We're not all of a sudden going to pivot and
but it also, given their point guard situation, you still have to recruit other point guards.
Well, yeah, you can't just recruit the one guy.
Right. So I think that's where
because what if tomorrow he goes, I'm deciding.
Right.
And he picks USC.
Right.
And you haven't recruited anybody else.
Right. Ed, we're trying to have a serious podcast here.
Oh, I like that question.
Answer it.
I believe he has because he's out of eligibility.
So yeah, that's where it's at. You're still involved with Trey Green, with Jizzle James. You're still poking around with a Jalen Curry. Dave, you would love and hate Jalen Curry.
I think from what you told me, I think I'd love him.
He gonna get his shots.
I'm all about that.
He gonna get his shots. He had 19 shots in an AAU game over the weekend.
One of my favorite lines ever on this podcast was when I said Kyle didn't come here to pass. Hey man, if you can fill it up and it takes you maybe a couple more, fine by me.
Yeah. Do I think second Green is second in line behind Collier? Maybe not. I think they still worry. It's the ultimate conundrum, right? He has the one skill that everybody in the country is looking for. I don't know that much else about his game fits what Wes wants to do. But boy, you can shoot the shit out of it. And from deep and off the dribble and off the catch. And
if you're projecting too, if we were in the AAC for the next 5 years,
then yeah, he'd be fine.
Hell yeah. but we're not, man. You're gonna have. We talked about this today. Like, yeah, he can shoot the shit out of it, but can he shoot it when he's got 6'3" to 6'5" guarding him
Right.
instead of 6 foot to 6'2"?
I think he can.
Right.
Because he's got such a quick release. But
over time.
Yes, and how much of that percentage is reduced by having a more significant hand, like a more significant closeout, a more significant.
Just how many shots does he just not get off?
Right.
Does he not feel comfortable taking because of that?
Right. I feel you. It's an interesting, like, as a coach, that's why you get paid the big bucks, right? That's what you get tasked with, or are making those decisions. I see why there's a bit of hesitation because of his size. I also see why they're still definitely involved because the kid makes shots.
Well, I think just look at his group of finalists.
Cincinnati, Xavier, Virginia Tech are the three officials that he's scheduled today.
But then also like VCU, right? LSU, who's got a new mid-major coach.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the high end, probably because he's 5'10". Maybe 5'8".
Yeah, in that range. He's around 5'8". I was standing there talking with somebody that hadn't seen him over the weekend in Louisville, and they were like, "Oh man, he's smaller than I thought." It's like, yeah,
it's not good when everybody already knows you're small.
Yeah, and then he's smaller than I thought.
Right.
So, Will, look, man. That dude's a Bearcat. That dude, I love him. Like, this was really the first weekend I got to, like, sit down and get a good dose of Cohen Carr, and I only saw 2.5 games, so it wasn't maybe as complete as some of my other evaluations, but I would love some Cohen Carr. Really, really love some Cohen Carr. For those that don't know, he plays with the Georgia Stars. He's from Georgia, but he's going to prep school in South Carolina. 6'5", and bouncy, Dave. Bouncy. He had a disrespectful block that was so disrespectful they called him for an intentional foul.
Did he even foul the guy?
I don't think so. Like, there was a dude sitting next to me that got up and went over, because like at these AAU events they have like ref clinics, right?
Yeah.
And the refs like all get graded by officials that are sitting on the baseline watching the game.
Sure.
And this dude I was sitting there with got up, went over to the guy that was the head official, and was like, "Y'all serious with that shit?" Like, maybe he fouled him, but like just because
like one of those, like, he probably fouled him, but the block was so good, like, you can't call it.
The block was clean. Maybe there was some contact, but because the block was so clean, the dude like thudded to the ground.
The old flagrant when they land on their back and fall hard. That must have meant that they hit them hard.
What it meant was all his momentum was going this way until it wasn't, and then it went like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't remind me of Keith Williams at all. Will, sorry. Keith was kind of thin and like, yes, he was athletic, but he wasn't like, this kid's physical as a wing. No, Ed, you would drive me fucking crazy.
It could be your driver. He just stays in the park. Just stays in the park in the lot until you're done.
Ed, what's this? What's that? Tell me about this. What about that? It'd be like the first time I went to an AAU tournament with Brent.
You did that?
Brent, it was in Indianapolis, and Brent met me there. And
I'm
then
sorry.
it was like the first time he had been around. It is what, like, you know,
I'm
it's a.
You know I'm kidding.
I know. I'm just saying it's a very different world. So if you're new to it, you have lots of questions. Like, how does this work? What is that about? Who is that guy you were just talking to? Oh man. All right. I don't have a whole lot else, I don't think.
Oh, I have a little. Should we end on some food?
Sure, I'm down to end on some food.
Well, before you do that, I did want to let everybody know I heard from somebody today that the Lindy's magazine is out.
Oh, buddy.
Apparently, when they said June, they meant June.
Can we
June
get Aaron to come on and do a dramatic reading of the Bearcats preview?
Only if you do one for yours.
I mean, sure.
All right.
I haven't picked up my copy yet, but I'm going to be on the hunt for it tomorrow. So we'll see
I have no problem with that.
if I can track one down here in Athens.
We'll do back-to-back duplicate readings of your previews and see how alike they are.
It's different, but same.
Yeah.
The one deep should be very similar because both of you asked me for mine.
That's
before
right.
you finalize yours.
Utilize your assets. I mean, come on.
I didn't go to all the practices.
Right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying they should look about the same. That's all.
I wish I could block Twitch people. I do want to go on the record for saying that. So,
Ed realizes this is business, right?
No. I don't think he does.
Bye, Aaron. What else you have, Dave?
Oh, some food.
Food. All right, let's go.
So we're going. Obviously, and most of our dedicated listeners
Florida,
know that I'm going on vacation to Florida.
Starting
Friday. And we rented a house, and on Saturday is like arrival day. So instead of trying to do like a big grocery run or find a restaurant to take 13 tired people from traveling and a almost 3-year-old to, I went ahead and found a chef to cater us dinner at our house.
Nice.
So I'm going to
That's the way to do it.
I'm going to read you the menu. And
Okay.
I want to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
So we are doing because we'll be, getting there whatever time everyone gets there, whatever time, pool all day.
So the first night, this is the first night.
Yes, I recommend this so that you don't have to do the big grocery run the first day you're there.
Okay.
Or figure out where you're going to order from or whatever. Yes, first night. We did a small apps type of party.
Okay.
There's a lot here. This is pretty impressive from Chef Blake. So we got some barbecue Berkshire country pork ribs with crispy fried onions.
Okay.
Some boom boom shrimp with
boom boom shrimp is always delicious.
Torched wasabi sweet chili aioli.
Okay.
Korean bacon lettuce wraps with pickled onion and carrot slaw.
Okay.
Fried green tomatoes with jumbo lump crab and Creole remoulade. Kelly
would eat that every day. That's Kelly's jam: fried green tomatoes and jumbo lump crab.
Yeah, sounds pretty strong. Southern buttermilk fried chicken sliders with awesome sauce and homemade pickles.
Okay, I'm not down with the pickles, but the rest sounds delicious.
Lobster truffle mac and cheese bites.
All right.
Andouille pigs in a blanket with homemade bacon or homemade berry bacon jam. And I have a Blackstone too. I have yet to use it. I'm hoping to fire that bad boy up after we get back from this vacation.
When'd you get it? How long have you had it and just not used it?
I got it like at the end of for my birthday, which was in October. So like the end of the. You can't really cook on it when it's cold.
Sure, you can.
How? With no lid? How do you keep a griddle hot when it's 30 degrees outside?
You turn that shit up.
You think that's an open air thing is gonna stay warm enough to cook on?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No way.
You know what you do to the temperature, Dave? You pump it up. Don't you know?
Pump it up.
Pump it up.
Yes. Let's see. Cheeseburger empanadas. Texas slow smoked brisket steak and cheese sliders.
Ooh, okay.
And
I'm
then
down with that.
for dessert, we have the chocolate or the cookie ice cream sandwiches. All sorts of different ones. You got chocolate chip with vanilla, chocolate double fudge, lemon shortbread with strawberry, some whiskey caramel, butterscotch nonsense. So,
Sounds pretty good.
I'm gonna have a couple beverages, eat some food. Mine has a lid too, but I don't think you can use it as a cooking lid. It's
So
just
my
like
question is-
it's just like a cover.
My question is like, how much of each thing do you get? Like, how many? You've only got what, like 15 people going?
13 people. I think it's like he's got it like a piece of each per person.
Okay.
I think. I don't know.
So that sounds like a lot for
It does. I thought the same thing.
If everybody gets one, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, there's like 10 things, but they're like 10 apps. So like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, maybe throughout a night where everybody's kind of just like drinking and hanging out and having
Yeah,
fun.
because I think it's not like a sit down thing or anything. You just go
Right.
and make a plate and go make another plate and you see who
Then drink for 3-4 hours, then go make another plate.
exactly. See who
Okay.
has, scope out the room, see who's done. So you don't feel like you're taking something that someone maybe wants
Right.
later. But yes.
I mean, okay.
Do you have
I
any
like
do you
the
have
idea.
do you have any spots in Decatur, Alabama you would recommend?
Hold on. Maybe.
That's where I'm staying Friday night, but I think we're gonna be there. We're gonna get there too late to really even like go out to eat. We'll probably just eat on the road earlier than that.
So I guess not. I thought there was one down there. Oh, it gave me Decatur, Georgia.
What were you looking for?
Gus's.
Oh, like hot chicken?
Well, it's not. It's Gus's famous fried chicken.
Oh,
It's got a little kick to it. It's the one in Memphis, the place I
Yeah.
always go, Memphis.
Oh, okay.
Thought
you for a second there you were talking about Gus's Good Time Deli on campus at UT. That's
No, I've heard that place is pretty good. I've never actually eaten in Knoxville, but I've heard about that deli.
You could
I've heard about that deli.
You could walk in. I could walk in there tomorrow, and Gerald. Now, granted, I have not been a student at UT since 2005, and neither has my friend. But I could walk in there tomorrow, and Gerald would ask me specifically how one of my friends is doing. That's how much we were there.
That's outstanding. So are you going to have to drive through Birmingham?
I think so. I don't know.
Where's Decatur?
Decatur's like right in Alabama.
Like coming through Georgia or coming through
through Tennessee.
Tennessee. Oh, yeah, you'll have to go through, but that'll be the next day. So that's not gonna. I was gonna say there's a Buc-ee's in Birmingham.
Oh, well, then we'll definitely, as long as it's right on 65, then I'm sure
It's not. It's a maybe 10 to 12 minutes out of the way.
Like that's iffy. I don't detour much.
Yeah, I know. It's on 20, like if you're going back towards Atlanta.
Yeah, okay. I got you.
So you could get there pretty quick and pretty quick back, but it's like a 15-minute drive out of the way.
Yeah, so it's like an hour out of your way though, because it's 15 minutes. You're there for 30.
Well, where are you going in Alabama? Where are you going to the beach?
Destin.
Oh. Never mind.
Yeah, going to Buc-ee's though, that's like an hour out of your way then, because the time that you're there, the time that it takes you to get there and then get back onto 65.
So do you go, when you go to Destin, do you go through like Pensacola?
No.
No? Okay. Because there's one just outside Pensacola too, right by Mobile.
No, that's like too far west. You come basically like literally straight down.
Well, you know what? Screw it. Just go through Lexington.
We'll go. Yeah, I'm not stopping that early.
Maybe on the way home.
Maybe on the way home.
Maybe on the way home.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do like an hour, a 30-minute stop, like an hour after we've been in the car.
It's like an hour and a half. It's like an hour and a half. All right, we've gone way too long. We should have ended this podcast 10 minutes ago. There you go. We will
be podcasting next week from
Dave live from the pool.
From the pool, we may have some special guests. Who knows?
Will?
I hope not. We may have some inebriated special guests. Who knows?
It is what it is.
Oh, are we going to do this on Wednesday or Thursday next week?
I don't care either way.
This Wednesday night could be a themed podcast. It could be.
What would be the theme?
I can't say, because if the person happens to listen, I don't want them to know.
I can only imagine where this podcast is going to go next week. I can only imagine.
I actually think we should do it on Wednesday.
Okay, that's fine. I don't care. I'm all about the content, Dave.
Oh no, we're going to do it on Wednesday because I might be going out to eat on Thursday. So.
Okay, Wednesday it is next week. Aaron, is that okay for you? Okay. Wednesday it is, Dave.
Wonderful.
All right. Let's get the hell out of here. He's Dave Simone. I'm Chad Brendel. It's the Holy Grail BCJ podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com.